Hello, my name is Tuppence. I absolutely love these type of moulds. Every time I see them anywhere on Temu, Amazon, I buy them. It's got straight sides, which make it perfect for decorating. And this one has a lid, which you mould upside down. Usually the bottom of your mould is the top of your lid, but in this case, this is the top of the lid. And it's a great expanse for decorating. These are another type of mould that I buy all the time. They're little floral moulds and usually meant for cake decorating, something like this. This one is unusual because it's transparent, which means that you can use it with UV resin. So that is perfect. I'm going to use these in combination to continue my fruit theme. I'm going to be using an eco resin to make this pot. I like Aqua Cast, and the manufacturers have a coverage calculator on their website. As I've already measured this mould, I entered that into the calculator and it tells me that I need 267 powder and 95 water. Now that I know that, I'm going to go ahead and measure everything out and start mixing it up. This is what it looks like. It's a kind of thick pancake batter. Now, I've been having a real problem with my Aqua Cast of late, and I don't know if that's the batch or the water. I live in a hard water area, so I'm just doing an experiment. This is very dilute hand wash. I've put a couple of squirts in there, not enough to create bubbles, but hopefully enough to soften that water so that it can release the air bubbles a little bit more easily. I'm also going to add a little bit more water than it asked for, just a couple of teaspoons, maybe not even that. This is going to make it a little bit more liquid, and then the bubbles should rise to the top more easily. I want to colour this, so I'm going to use an acrylic ink. This is a water-based ink. That dropper doesn't seem to work, so I'm just going to pour a little bit in. I have used acrylic paints before to colour my eco resin, and I can only say what happens with Aqua Cast because that's the only eco resin that I have used. It has caused it to thicken up prematurely, so it'd be interesting to see if the same thing happens with this one, although because I'm using an ink, it is a lot more fluid to begin with. All right, I've got that all mixed through, so let me just bring my mould back on, and then I can start to pour this. And look, yeah, it is thickening up. So that must be a reaction that happens with acrylic paint or ink. It's definitely not the soap. As I say, that has happened before with acrylic paints. So I'm just squeezing the bottom of my mould and tapping it up and down just to get that eco resin all the way down the bottom. Make sure that it is fully covered, especially as it's thickening up now. So I'm going to start to pour that in the lid as well. There are 2 tiers in this lid, which means I have got quite a lot of sharp angles in there. So I'm just going to keep tapping it, leveling it out. Even though it's thickened up, it is laying flat when you do that. Let me fill this up a little bit more. It's like an ice cream now. Okay, again, tap, tap, tap. You can see the bubbles popping up. So I'm just going to keep squeezing and tapping. And then hopefully all those bubbles will rise up because they normally get trapped on that curve. Right, before I fill that up, I just want to take a microbrush stick and run around. I'm just tracing around those sharp edges, making sure that there aren't any bubbles that are trapped there. That'll do. And then I can fill this up. Wow, it does look like ice cream. I'm getting hungry. I may have overfilled that a little bit, but that's okay because once the water evaporates, it will shrink back a little bit. So I just need to top up my pot. I'm going to keep tapping this for a little while to get the bubbles out, and I'll be back once these are cured and I can demold them. Okay, these are all cured perfectly well now. They've had no problem setting, so I can get them out of the mould. That came out really easy. Oh my goodness, look at that. That is super shiny. There are no bubbles whatsoever. Not even micro bubbles. So the back is a little rough textured, but yeah, that's normal for Aqua Cast. Quick sand and that will be fine. That is definitely an improvement on what I've had. So let me have a look at this one. Oh, well, that's not right. That is no longer round, and that's going to be a problem because it means that the lid is not going to fit. Nope, not a chance. Okay, so I think that's more to do with the mould, nothing to do with the pour that I've put in there. So let me just get this out and we can have a look and see what it looks like. Wow, that is also really clear, no bubbles, super smooth, just the bubbles on the bottom. Yeah, I'm going to have to scrap that pot. I will recast it. So let me just turn this the right way round, and I need to find something that I can put in that middle to support it. All right, I think I've found something that might work. This is insulation from pipe, and I've just cut this into quarters so that I can stuff that down into the supports. And this is purely so that when I put the ring that I've got to go on the top, it doesn't sink down to the bottom. So just stuff those down. So this is a ring that I made using some excess resin. I got a mould that is a series of concentric rings. I'll pop a picture of it up here and I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. And I just had this sitting on the side and I thought I'd try it, and it fits perfectly. So the measurement across is 58 millimeters, 5.8 centimeters, and I couldn't believe that that actually worked. With that, it should stop that distorting. I've gone ahead and already cast this because you've seen me do exactly the same. I put the same acrylic ink in and also the same soap. And let's have a look at this. And again, that is super smooth, really, really smooth on the top and quite a long way down the sides. I can't believe how silky that is. It is just around that bottom corner. So that is a definite improvement. The inside is also nice and clean as well. It's not exactly the same colour as the lid. I didn't use quite as much ink, but I think that works and it definitely fits. So as per usual, the base is a little bit rough and I need to do some sanding on that. So I've just got some ordinary sandpaper and I'm just going to quickly grind that off and smooth it out. This is still soft, it's just come out of the mould, so this is the best time to do it. And that didn't take very much, and look how smooth that is. Wow. I am going to just take the sandpaper around the edge and kind of round that off because it is very sharp and I like it to be smooth and rounded. I'm also going to kind of smooth out these bubbles. And because this is still slightly damp, it's kind of creating a little bit of a paste that fills everything in. Now that I've got my base, it's time to work on the decoration. So these are all strawberries and strawberry flowers and leaves, and I'm going to be using some air dry foam clay. This is the brand that I buy and recommend. You can find a link to that in the description box below. I'm going to keep the clay white and I'm going to paint it afterwards. And because this mould is super soft, I'm just going to see if I can get it to work without using any kind of corn flour or freezing. So I'm stuffing everything into the mould, just using my fingers to scrape off the excess and try and get the back as flat as possible. And then I can pull that mould apart and see if this pops out. That stem is very thin, so I'm just trying to be really gentle. Oh, that didn't stick too much. I can't believe I actually got that out. I don't like it that long, so I'm just going to pinch that off. Yeah, that's much better. That's come out really nicely. For the more intricate parts of the mould, I'm going to use some corn flour to help it release. I'm just applying that with a paintbrush. Make sure that I get all of the bottom of that mould covered. I've got quite a lot of powder in there, so I'm just going to tap off the excess and repeat the process of stuffing in the clay. I'm adding it a little piece at a time, trying to make it as flat as I possibly can on the back. And then I can gently prise this out of the mould. So I'm just pushing the mould from underneath with my fingers and pulling it out. So I did lose a couple of leaves, but everything is pretty much complete. So I'll just take off those bits. Yeah, that's a very usable piece. If I have too many problems, I can always put it into the freezer, but that's a pretty slow process because you have to wait a good half an hour before you take each piece out. Some of the pieces are joined by really thin stems, like these strawberries and leaves. I'm not going to even attempt to cast those. I'll just do the two pieces separately and then I can stick them together afterwards. This foam clay will stick really well to itself when it's still soft. So I'm going to carry on and make as many pieces as I can. I need to be pretty quick though, because I don't want to let the ones that I've already made dry out before I can apply them to the pot. I'm really happy with the way this is working with the foam clay and I'm loving all the detail I'm getting. So I'm going to make some more and I'll be back when I'm ready to stick them on the pot. Okay, as ever I am using my bookbinding glue and I've had questions as to why I use that over PVA glue. Well, it is a PVA glue, it's just a little bit more durable and I find that it dries a little bit quicker, it's also clear and remains pretty flexible. It can also be used on many materials, so it makes it truly a multimedia glue and it's the only one that I actually need. I've put a little bit of glue onto the back of the foam clay and now I'm pressing it onto the pot. As the pieces are still really soft, I just need to be careful, but I can curve them slightly. So I'm going to carry on and build up a pattern. I'm going to put some music on and I'll let you watch. Okay, this is where I've got so far. I'm going to need to leave everything to dry before I can paint them. That's going to take about 24 hours or so, although I am going to speed that up by putting this into my G3 curing machine and I'll put it on about 90 degrees for a couple of hours. So I'll be back when I'm ready to paint these. These are all dry now. I had them in the G3 curing machine for a couple of hours and I also put them on the windowsill in the sun for about another 3 or 4 hours. I'm going to use some Nicpro acrylic paint pens to paint these. I absolutely love the brush nibs and it just makes things so much easier. So I've got a series of colours, reds, greens and yellows. Let me just zoom in a little bit and I'm going to start the painting. And again, there's not really much I can explain about that. So I'm going to pop the music back on. It was inevitable that I would get some on the pot at some point, and the easiest thing to do was to leave it to dry and then I could scratch it off using my craft knife. I did try to remove it straight away while it was still wet and that just smeared it and spread the colour around, so this was definitely the best way of getting rid of it. I'm not actually creating a hole, I'm just removing that paint on the surface. It hasn't soaked in too much. And that looks a lot better than trying to get rid of it while it's wet. I took everything outside to my shed so that I could give it a spray coat of varnish. I've got the pot resting upside down on top of my lid. That is to protect the inside. I only want to put some acrylic varnish on the outside. I'm going to be using something else to seal the inside. So I just gave this a couple of light coats and then I left everything to dry. And you can see that it is darkening that yellow colour. This will also help to protect the foam clay and just make it a little bit stronger. Okay, so the outside has had a couple of coats of the acrylic varnish. It's all nice and dry, but I haven't put anything on the inside yet because I want that to be food safe. So I'm going to be using some of this wax. It is stone and polish gloss wax and it is food safe. It's meant for kitchen worktops and things. So I just need to pop this lid open. I always keep the cloth in there already. This is saturated with the wax. Just need to pick up a little bit more and then I'm going to really rub this into the surface. I'll get it all coated with the wax. It will soak in. I'm going to then leave it for a couple of hours just to dry and then I can buff it off and this will be ready to put some food in. And I mustn't forget to put some on the underside of the lid as well. Okay, I'm going to leave these to dry out and then I'll get a clean cloth and I'll buff them. I want to add one more thing. I've made some texture paint. I used these products to do it. This Dimensional Magic is something I've had for ages. I know Mod Podge do one now, so you can get hold of it. And I mixed it with this gold marbling mica powder. And if this works, I will be able to make as many colours as I like. It should make a paint very similar to this one. I've seen Wendy of Toonpish Crafts use it, and I used to have some. I just don't have any more. So I've put this into a needle nose bottle, but I'm going to take the needle out. So I just need to pull that out because it does flow much better just through that tip. So let me I'm just going to give this a quick shake and I want to try it on my desk first, make sure it's flowing. And I should be able to make little dots or pearls and these should stay raised just like that. It's going to take a little while for it to dry. But I think this is just going to add something. I don't know what it is about strawberries, but they just remind me of a vintage pattern. And yeah, that to me screams polka dots. So I didn't like that one. Because I've already varnished this, I just managed to scrape that off. And then I can redo it. So I'm just going to carry on and add dots to the lid. And hopefully they should be all right to put on the pot as well. Obviously the lid is laying flat, but there's quite a lot of mica in this paint, so it should be thick enough that it won't run down the pot. I'm going to carry on and add the dots all the way around. Then I'm going to leave it to dry and I'll get you some photos to show you what it looks like when it's all finished. Here it is, a sweet little strawberry pot that is perfect for holding strawberry sweets. I really love this. I hope that you love this. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. It's free to you. It will really help me and you'll be able to come back and see what I'm going to make next time. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye.